I think it's pretty safe to say that when we examine the Star Wars sequel trilogy and the Skywalker saga in general, by far one of the most fan-favorite characters out there is, of course, Luke Skywalker, portrayed by Mark Hamill. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about The Rise of Skywalker is that we do know that this movie went through a lot of hoops in order to get the production done. We do know that this film had a very tough production schedule and a lot of hang-ups during production itself. Now, looking at the sequel trilogy in its entirety, a lot of fans around the world have had issues with The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker all the way through. Meanwhile, other fans out there will say the complete opposite, which is fine, that they loved all three Star Wars movies by Disney. Now, to me, The Force Awakens, decent movie. The Last Jedi, I absolutely did not like that movie. And The Rise of Skywalker, somewhat of a decent Star Wars film with a lot of flaws in the mix. That's just how I see things. So, when we look at the box office results here for The Rise of Skywalker, it only crossed a little over $1 billion at the box office worldwide. In fact, this week of February, it's really getting out of theaters, and it's making its way over to the Blu-ray edition and to 4K next month in March. So, we're going to be getting, the deleted scenes, the commentary by J.J. Abrams, and all the extra stuff like that. Now, which deleted scenes will we be getting? We're not quite sure, but we do know that we're not getting all of them by Kathleen Kennedy because she wants to keep a majority of them locked up. Now, everything related to Disney and Lucasfilm, this is where things begin to get very intriguing, is that now that The Rise of Skywalker is out in theaters and the saga is over by Disney and Lucasfilm, many fans have been very curious as to what the future of the franchise will look like with their new Star Wars universe that will involve movies, TV shows, books, and more to come throughout this entire decade. Now, it's noted that Lucasfilm is currently cleaning themselves up with the Star Wars brand, and that one of the big regrets that not only Disney CEO Bob Iger has over the decision to kill Luke's death, but it's noted that many of those creatives on board at Lucasfilm are very regretful on the decision of killing Luke in The Last Jedi, and that so is Kathleen Kennedy, given that the Skywalkers were a selling point, and that now they have to find a more difficult path to create new stories for the Skywalkers, both in live action and animated projects as well as books and novels. Now, even The Rise of Skywalker editor Mary Ann Brandon stated that after Rian Johnson made the decision to kill off the Luke Skywalker, it was very hard to write the final film of the Skywalker saga surrounding the Skywalkers. It's noted that Lucasfilm and Disney regrets killing Luke in the Star Wars sequel trilogy based on what they could have done with the final film of the saga, since the box office results did not meet their expectations and didn't even top The Last Jedi worldwide speaking. Now, it's said that currently Disney is afraid of the fans based on what they will do with the new Star Wars universe and how it will deliver to the fandom, and that they are trying their absolute best to reunite the fans around the world, where it's also known that Bob Iger regrets Luke Skywalker being let go in The Last Jedi after The Rise of Skywalker box office results. Now, when we look at Disney and Lucasfilm, obviously, they have a specific plan in order to reunite the fan base. That's what they're trying to do right now. That's their big plan here. That's their big strategy, right? They're trying to really regain or gain back the lost fans from The Last Jedi backlash and from everything related to how the sequel trilogy ended up in its entirety. Now, when you look at the death of Luke Skywalker, obviously it could have been better if it was saved until the very ending of Episode 9. It would have been more proper to do it like that. But a lot of fans around the world out there have issues with not just the fact that Luke was killed, but exactly how and when he was killed, right? So, when we think about Luke Skywalker, obviously, there could have been so much more to the character in Episode 8 by Rian Johnson, and it's very unfortunate that we did not get to see that, of what could have been and what they actually initially planned before, many of the changes were made as well for that movie. The Rise of Skywalker, though, really went under a lot of deleted scenes and really went under a lot of changes here and there. Even Mark Hamill stated that, he really wished that they had done something completely different for the character of Luke. And, I don't blame Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill really knows the character best because he worked with George for 3 straight movies in the 70s into the 80s. He really worked on the original trilogy. He did a fantastic job, and he knows the character best, in my point of view. So, when we think about Bob Iger, the fact that he regrets that Luke Skywalker is dead and how They really could have done something so much more. Even Bob Iger kind of teased at this when he was at the premiere of the movie, where he stated that they are now just figuring out exactly, what potential they really have with the Star Wars brand and exactly what they could really do, and how they're really trying to bring themselves on a different path here to the Star Wars franchise. So, by themselves reuniting the fan base, whether or not they can do it, all depends on how this new Star Wars universe is going to develop and how it's really going to deliver to the Star Wars fandom, right? So, like I say, guys, I would really love to hear what each and every one of you have to say about this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Night to moon, we hear them moans again. No.